Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be speaking about sharing your message and the downloads that come to you, and what to do when we enter a state of overwhelm and then freeze when we are receiving all of these downloads that we know we need to share. A lot of people have asked me why I don't share on YouTube regularly and why I regularly just disappear for sometimes a few months. And this is something that I'm already aware of within myself, and the reason I don't share regularly is not because I don't have anything to share, it's because I have too much to share. And this is what's brought me onto this subject today, because I feel like a lot of people who are kind of spiritually inclined like I am may be having this same issue, where something that happens to us is that when we're spiritually inclined, we get so many downloads, and they can become extremely overwhelming if you're not grounded with those downloads. And something that's happened to me is that, for various reasons I will explain, I became very ungrounded with my downloads. It's like I have, I don't know, like an extremely open crown chakra. It's just like wide open, and like my head is in the ethers continuously, and I'm continuously receiving downloads, and I get extremely overwhelmed. And something that happens to us when we're overwhelmed is we freeze, because it's almost like everything has built up inside of you, and you've allowed it to build up to a point where it's actually too much for you to contain. And this brings me on to my point that the reason we become this way is because we're holding on to things, we're containing things we are not meant to be holding on to. This information, these downloads are sent to us not to just sit within us, but to come through us. We are channels. We are meant to be allowing these things to come through us, but many of us sit on them. And so then we become very overwhelmed because we're full of all of this information that's literally coming through us to come out of us. It's not meant to stay within us. And then as human beings, we just get overwhelmed, and we then freeze, and we end up sharing absolutely nothing, when really what we're being called to do is share these messages when they come through us. This ability to receive downloads and information from the universe that can improve your life and help you, and also help other people when you share it, it doesn't come to you for no reason. You have a gift, and it's just that the thing that often happens is that when you're somebody who has this gift and you're so connected spiritually, if you don't allow yourself to share those things that come to you, it's like it creates an ocean of information. And so this is the thing that happened to me, because I did not allow myself to share things that were coming to me kind of like in the moment or quite quickly afterwards. I created like this ocean of information, and it's like then when I would kind of go to go near it, it was just like I felt like I was just going to drown and get swept away, because I had allowed it to build up so much, and because the downloads were still coming to me, because they were not stopping, of course, because the universe is like, send this to this person so it can come through them, but you've essentially turned yourself into a dam. So but the universe is still sending it all to you, so it's still coming in, and you're just like trying to block all of it, and it's like this huge sea that you're trying to stop from moving. And this is what causes us to get so overwhelmed. But I can tell you that these downloads that come to you from the ethers, from the universe, from spirit, from God, whatever you want to call it, they absolutely do come to you for a reason. They come to you to come through you, to improve your life and other people's lives. You do have a gift, and you're just being called to share it, and you aren't sharing it, and that's why you feel so overwhelmed, and that's why you freeze, because you don't share. It grows because they're still coming to you, and you're trying to dam this flood. You're trying to stand in the middle of it to stop it from moving. And so it builds up and it's hitting into you, and you become so overwhelmed with that you freeze and do nothing. But then you feel extremely unfulfilled because you're going against the thing that you're meant to do. I think another level of this that we have to talk about is things like perfectionism. You know, the things that stop us from just sharing the messages that come through us in their just raw truth, in their authenticity. Things like perfectionism stop us because, of course, we live in this world where we're kind of like conditioned to kind of perfect things and edit things and make things kind of into a structure. And of course, just receiving these messages from the universe that you just know are meant to be shared doesn't fit into those boxes. So I think because of the way we've kind of been conditioned, we get stuck in this kind of paradigm of, I have to make this make sense to other people, when the truth is, it's like there's nothing more powerful than something that's just shared in its authenticity. And something I've really learnt is that when people sit on things, when they overthink something like a message, what they're actually doing is trying to alter it, okay? So when you're holding on to a message and you're obsessing over how it will be received and how it will be, how people will take it, if it makes sense or not, and you're just procrastinating and doing all this perfectionism, what you're doing is you're altering your message. And that just leads to even more build up and overwhelm because you're blocking the truth that is trying to come through you. You know, you're not being called to sit there and change what's coming through you. You're being called to share it in its raw truth. You know, truth really is just honesty, and authenticity really is the most powerful thing. And even if your words are not perfect, people feel your energy more than anything else. So when you're worried about how it will be received and getting the right words and things like that, I just want you to understand that people will feel your truth, and they will also feel when a message has been edited and is not coming from the heart, is not being channeled through you. They will also feel that. They will feel its inauthenticity. They will feel how it's been diluted. And this is something I've really learned along my journey, is to just have faith in just our truth, you know, the authenticity that just comes through us, and no longer editing things and trying to fit them into boxes they are not meant to fit into. Your truth will always resonate with those that are in alignment with it, and it will always repel those it's not in alignment with. And that's the beautiful thing about us being honest about ourselves and our messages and the things we think, because they attract to us everything that's actually compatible with us and our message, and they will repel everything that's not resonant with it. And that's what we want, because you don't want things to come to you that aren't in alignment with your truth. And this is why you need to have faith in your message, because by being honest and authentic about the things that come through you, you're never going to lose something that's meant for you. You can't. You're not going to repel somebody who resonates with that truth. You're only going to repel someone who doesn't. And by trying to fit your truth into a box, you make it into something other than your truth. So it can't attract to you the ones that resonate anymore. You're not meant to sit there procrastinating on all the messages that come through you. You're not meant to get stuck in perfectionism. You're just meant to trust and just give yourself to that ocean and just swim in it. That's what we're really being called to do. And until you do, you're just going to be overwhelmed and frozen. And the way to just get out of that overwhelm and that freeze is to just start swimming. You just have to start just sharing as it comes through you. However that is, whether it's online like this, or if it's, just with people in your life, or it could literally relate to absolutely anything. Just whatever's true for you and whatever you're being called to do and however you're being called to share your authenticity. I think another thing people also get caught up on when it comes to like sharing downloads and just the messages that come to you is like this thing where when you're a spiritually inclined person, you kind of end up speaking a different language to other people. They'll like ask you, hey, what have you done with your week? And you're thinking, I've traveled the realms in the ethers and discovered information that has caused an internal metamorphosis that in turn has transformed my entire physical life, because physical life is a reflection of the internal. And a lot of people are just like, what the hell? But it's like, this is literally how it is when you're this way, when you're spiritually inclined. Like, there are just things that happen with you that don't fit into this box that society's so used to. And so I think some of us have that in our mind when it comes to sharing things. And, you've got this in your mind of, it just brings you into this place of how will it be received, and then you get stuck there, and so you don't share anything. And this is something we just need to accept, and we're just being called into this place of just having the courage and the bravery to just share authentically anyway. And something amazing that you'll discover is that oftentimes when you just share your authentic truth, you'll discover that many people were going through the same thing, but they, just like you, were too afraid to say it. And this beautiful thing happens when one of you has the courage to just share it anyway. You then liberate those people to do the same. And that leads to deeper connection between us all, because we realize a lot of us are actually just going through the same things, but we don't know it because we're not saying it, because everybody's too afraid to. Now, obviously, receiving messages from the universe is obviously, it's entirely like a 5D energy. It's, you being up in the ethers. It's the spiritual, intuitive, psychic connection. And so what we're being called to do is to reconcile that and balance that with the practical side of things and the kind of 3D energy. We're being called to balance the 3D and the 5D energy. And this is also the answer to how you will get over this overwhelm and this freeze state. This is you actively sharing and expressing that energy. It's like the energy, the message that wants to be shared is the 5D energy. And then the act of physically sharing that message is the 3D energy. So when we get those together, that's when it becomes grounded and stabilized, the 5D and the 3D working together. And so when we become overwhelmed like this, it's because those two are imbalanced. It's because a message is coming to you that is meant to be shared, but you are just staying in the 5D, refusing to share it, and therefore the grounding is not happening. And so then we become very overwhelmed, and your head is just continuously off in the ethers like mine is. And then we share nothing because we freeze, because there's no grounding. Okay, so allowing yourself to share, however that manifests for you in your life and your situation, is the answer to grounding yourself and getting over this overwhelm and freeze state. So one of the first things I do when I receive my downloads is I write it down. I literally have thousands of notes on my phone, which are just downloads, because I literally get them all day and all night. Sometimes I can't go to sleep at night because I'll lay down and then I'll literally just fly out of bed and have to go grab a piece of paper or my phone to write a download down, and then I'll lay back down in bed and I'll be like, okay, no, that's enough now, I'm going to sleep. And then literally 5 minutes later I'll fly out of bed again because I have to write something else down. And it's like, oh my God. But so write them down, because this is also like a physical act. So it's also an act of grounding this 5D thing that's just occurred, okay? But then this is the trick, like what you don't want to do is what I've been doing for a very long time, which is just writing them down and then leaving them because it's so overwhelming because they're still coming to me. Instead, I want you to like set an intention with the universe and say, you can say it in your mind, or you can say it out loud, or you can just have the intention, you've sent me this download, I am now going to focus on this download, I'm writing it down, and I'm going to see this through. I'm going to see through the expression of this download before I move on to another one. So you can just set that intention, or you can, say it out loud, or say it in your mind, or you can even write it down with the downloads that you just wrote down, and then just focus on sharing this message, okay? And then you can move on to the next one, because this is where I went wrong. Like I said, my crown chakra is just open, and I'm just receiving them continuously, and so I just write them down, and then I it's like sometimes I use the act of writing them down as an excuse to leave them alone because it's too overwhelming, because there's too many of them. And this is the wrong thing to do. When you write down the download, the message that's come to you for a reason, because it's meant to come out of you, follow it through. Do not sit on it, because if you do, you will become overwhelmed and then you will freeze. So follow through the message that's come to you. And if you encounter things like perfectionism, and you feel yourself slipping into this place where you start to overthink it and wonder how it's going to be taken by people, just remember everything I've said about authenticity. It's not meant to fit into a box. If your truth and your message was meant to fit in a goddamn box, it would show up in a goddamn box. It's already in the goddamn box it's meant to be in, so don't change it. It's already come to you the way it's meant to be. So stop trying to change it to make people who aren't meant for it understand it. Accept that there are always going to be people who aren't going to resonate because they aren't meant to. They're in alignment with something else. But the only way to attract what's in alignment with you is to show the truth, is to be honest, not to change things, not to try and fit things into a box, but to just share your authentic truth, because it will attract naturally what's in alignment with that. It can't do anything else. And it will also repel what is not in alignment with it, because it can't do anything else. Okay? So remember these things when you feel yourself starting to slip into perfectionism. Allow yourself to just share what's come through you and trust it. Even if you feel embarrassed at first, that's part of life, like being embarrassed and owning it, letting go of that's just part of life. And sometimes when we get caught up in perfectionism, it's because we're trying to avoid these things that are a really natural, healthy part of life. Some people are going to look at you and think you're nuts, that's a natural part of life. And people are going to look at you that way no matter what you are or what you say or do. There's always going to be somebody who looks at you and doesn't resonate. But like I said, it always brings me back to this point. The only way to connect with what's meant for you and what's meant for your message is to show the authentic truth, to own that and commit to that and just share it authentically, and just push through this urge to perfect, to fit into a box, and to push through this fear of embarrassing yourself, or having that moment where people are like, I don't resonate with you, I'm going. Just understand that that's actually all a gift. And it's all part of aligning to what is actually meant for us. And it's all part of sharing this gift that you have. Because like I said, downloads do not come to people like us for no reason. They are meant to come through you. They are meant to benefit the people who you share them with, and even and of course yourself. Like, my life is improved. I'm empowered every single day from the downloads that come to me, and I then empower other people by sharing them, and this is the way it's meant to be. And another thing I want to mention to you is about how a lot of us don't realize that the empowerment work we do with ourselves, and the healing we do, the inner work we do, and like all of the spiritual realizations and leveling up, you have no idea how much just the energy of you doing that affects everybody else. Like, we are so much more connected than I think most people realize. I mean, look up the Schumann resonance, okay? The Schumann resonance is the overall frequency of planet Earth, okay? Now, the Schumann resonance has been literally proven to spike when literally just like 1,000 people do a group meditation where they all focus on raising the frequency. Just 1,000 people has been proven to raise the entire frequency of the planet, okay? So if you think the work that you alone are doing is meaningless, it's never meaningless, okay? It's not meaningless. Even just the work you silently do on yourself is affecting other people. And when we openly share that, it just amplifies the power and the connection, okay? That connection is always there. Like, my God, the things I have seen in my life, like, there is no separation between people. There is no separation. It's all an illusion. We are so deeply connected. I've seen people who have never even met each other, and they're so connected. It's just crazy. So don't ever doubt the work you do on yourself. Don't ever doubt the power of, the shadows you face in the silence that people don't hear about, Don't ever doubt the power of that, and then just know that you can silently, you're uplifting other people, and then when you openly share it, it just amplifies that. It just amplifies how much you can help people. I've always noticed, because I'm someone who's obviously so connected to like the energy of the collective consciousness, I've always noticed how people tend to go through the same things at the same time. It's like waves of certain things come through the collective consciousness. It's like I'll notice that loads of people will like be healing the same thing at the same time, and yet they're not like physically connected. It's just certain waves, certain levels of healing and awakening move through the collective consciousness. This is one of the reasons I'm sharing this, because if I'm experiencing it, I know damn well that a lot of other people will be experiencing it, because we're all so connected. It's like we so many of us spiritually grow at the same time, and we experience the same things at the same time. And this is another reason why it's so powerful to share those things with people, because you'd be surprised how when you're going through something like whatever it be, shadow work, just spiritually awakening, all the things that happen to you in your life and the way you see things when you're going through that, we often feel very alone in these things, and you'd be so surprised that when you actually choose to you trust and you share those things, you'd be surprised just how many people are going through the same things, because we are that connected. The human race does not just go through physical evolution, we're going through spiritual evolution. We're always spiritually evolving, and it comes in like waves that take us all together, okay? So this is another reason why it's so powerful to share these things. It shows you how you were never alone. It shows you just how connected we really are, and it does the same for other people. So it's like we're also helping to reconnect everyone who's gotten into this illusion of disconnection. You know, we're never disconnected. We are connected in the most magical ways people don't even realize. One of the ways I really like to share my messages and just like sit with the download is to put music on. Like I'll put my favorite music on, and because, you know, I don't know, it depends, I guess, if you're into music. Like I'm obsessed with music. I write music and sing. I'm just obsessed with music and dance a lot. But so I guess it depends, like if you're into music. But for me, music just makes everything just explode, you know. And so for me, I love to, when I receive a download, just write it down, sit there listening to my favourite music and just really allow myself to go into it and just allow it to just explode in my mind and show me everything it wants to become and do, and then write down everything that's coming to me and how this download is growing in my mind, and then share it. Okay, so that's a really good thing to do if, you know, you're on this path of sharing your messages. Just obviously just don't let that become perfectionism, because of course it's like it's this balance between, you know, we don't want to be impulsive and just be randomly saying things. I mean, I'm sure you can tell from my channel, I don't do that. I don't just say random things. So it's like we need to balance this with, yes, I have sat with this message. I've sat with this download and I've gotten to know it and I've really felt it through. But once I completed that process, once I allowed that process to play out naturally, I then allowed it to come out of me, okay? And this is what we need to do. It's that balance of, yes, I thought something through, but I did not become stagnant in that place. Of course, we want to think through the things we say, but there's a fine line between thinking through the things you say and perfectionism. And we need to see that line. We need to be paying attention to that. You know, like if you've been obsessing over a subject for like a month, you're probably in perfectionism. If you've spent like a couple of hours sat there listening to music, feeling the subject and writing things down, or even a couple of days, it's probably not perfectionism. Ask yourself, how many times have you thought the same thing? You know, because sometimes it's like that thing of us trying to change things. It's like you're thinking over and over the same thing. You're thinking the same thought because you're hoping it's going to change, because you don't have the courage to just share it as it is. So you keep thinking it in the hopes that it will just alter a bit, or you'll find a way to just alter it a bit, or find a way to get it into this pretty box, okay? So how many times have you thought the same thing? That's a good thing to look out for. So yes, of course, sit with things, but don't stay there too long, like I often do. I do this, so I know what I'm talking about. I do this a lot, and it's something I'm really just trying to get through, because, you know, I've understood for a very long time it's part of my path to just give myself to that ocean. I have to, because I become physically tired going against this gift. You know, it's like I'm totally comfortable in the 5D. Like, I'm a very spiritual, intuitive, psychic person. I naturally sit in the 5D, but that has to be reconciled with the 3D. It has to. And when those two come together, that's when the power is. That's when you really empower your life, and it's also when you help empower other people to the fullest extent that you can. You know, giving ourselves to the path we're being called to walk along, the things we feel passion for, the messages that come to us, you know, those downloads that just give you goosebumps. That's the path you're meant to follow. It's coming to you for a reason. You have a gift. You are meant to give yourself to that flow of energy, of information. You're not meant to be a dam. You're not supposed to be standing in the middle of it trying to block it. You're meant to be allowing it to flow through you. I'm going to do a video soon where I'll be talking about how we can connect to the information that our future selves have, or our parallel selves have, in order to achieve what that version of us has already achieved. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you soon.